Why is my mom's photo hanging in your mansion? The young woman's voice cracked through the golden-lit hall, trembling with disbelief. Her fingers clutched the rain-wrinkled photograph as her chest rose and fell. The tall man in front of her, wealthy, composed, the kind of man who owned everything money could buy, stood frozen. The photo she held had shattered his calm like glass. He looked at her as though he'd seen a ghost. Just an hour earlier, Kira Lane had been standing outside the heavy iron gates of this grand estate, soaked to the bone and shaking from the long bus ride. She wasn't supposed to be here. Someone like her didn't belong in neighborhoods where the street lamps glowed over marble fountains and security guards stood watch by hedges taller than houses. But the picture she carried left her no choice. Her mother, Lillian Lane, had passed away 2 months ago. While sorting through old boxes, Kira found an envelope hidden behind family letters. Inside it was a photo, her mother smiling, standing beside this very mansion, and next to her, a younger version of the man now staring at her in stunned silence. On the back of the picture, written faintly, were 3 words, "Ask him why." For weeks, Kira debated what to do. Her mother had been private about her past, refusing to discuss the years before Kira was born. Now, standing face to face with the man from the photograph, Kira realized her mother's secret was bigger than she ever imagined. "Where did you get that?" the man finally asked, his voice strained. Kira's knuckles whitened as she held the photo up. "It was my mother's. She kept it hidden her entire life. You were standing right beside her." "Why?" He took a cautious step forward, his brow furrowed. "Your mother's name," he said slowly, "was it Lillian?" Kira nodded. "Yes. Lillian Lane." His throat tightened at the sound of her name. He turned away for a moment, his hand trembling slightly as he adjusted his cufflinks. "It's been a very long time." "You knew her," Kira said, more accusation than question. He exhaled. "Yes. I knew her." Kira's heart pounded so hard it hurt. "Then tell me how." "My mom worked 2 jobs to feed us. We never had money, never had anything close to this." She gestured to the chandeliers above. "So how did you know her?" He hesitated, searching her face before speaking. "She worked here. 25 years ago. As a caretaker." Kira blinked. "Here. In this house?" He nodded faintly. "My wife was sick back then. Your mother was hired to care for her." Kira frowned, confusion shadowing her face. "My mother never said she worked for anyone rich. She never mentioned you. She never mentioned any of this." "Perhaps she wanted to protect you," he said quietly. "Protect me from what?" Before he could answer, a second voice came from the hallway. "Dad? What's going on?" Kira turned. A young man entered the room, maybe 28, dressed in a navy shirt and jeans. His resemblance to the older man was unmistakable, same dark eyes, same strong jawline. The older man sighed. "Logan, this is Mississippi Lane. She's here about someone we both knew." Logan's gaze shifted to Kira, curiosity tightening his expression. "Who?" Kira raised the photo. "My mother. Lillian Lane. She's in this picture, with him." Logan stepped closer, studying it. "Wait, this woman," he paused, frowning. "That's the one from the photo in your study, Dad. The one next to Mom's portrait." Kira froze. "You have her picture here?" The older man's eyes lowered. "Yes." Her voice rose. "Why would you keep her photo in your house all these years? What was she to you?" He took a deep breath, the firelight reflecting off his face. "Your mother wasn't just an employee. She was the person who reminded me what it meant to live again." Kira's jaw tightened. "That doesn't explain why you have her photo." "My mother worked her whole life to survive. She never wanted charity. If you're telling me this was about kindness, it doesn't make sense." He looked at her, his voice breaking. It wasn't charity. It was love. The air went still. Even the rain outside seemed to pause. Kira's lips parted, but no sound came out. You're saying you loved her? He nodded slowly. More than I should have. Logan stepped forward, his tone sharp. Dad, what are you talking about? The man didn't look at him. His eyes stayed on Kira. Your mother was the reason this house didn't fall apart after your mother's passing, he said to Logan. I was drowning. Lillian brought light into this place again. She was pure, strong, and I ruined everything by caring too much. Kira's pulse raced. If you loved her, why didn't you find her? Why did she die without ever telling me who you were? He turned away, guilt heavy in his voice. Because she asked me not to. She wanted a clean life for you, far from all this. I respected that, until now. Kira took a shaky step closer. What do you mean? The man's eyes glistened. Your mother sent me a letter before she passed. She said someday, her daughter might come looking for answers, and that I needed to be ready to tell the truth. Kira swallowed hard, her breath shallow. Then tell me. The whole truth. He hesitated, then walked to a drawer near the fireplace. From it, he pulled out a faded envelope, the edges yellowed with age. This was the last thing she gave me, he said softly. I've kept it sealed for 20 years, waiting for you. Kira's hands trembled as she reached for it. You kept it, all this time? Yes, he whispered. Because I knew one day, you'd come asking the question I never wanted to answer. Her eyes lifted from the envelope to his face. What question? He met her gaze, his voice low and trembling. The one you already asked when you walked in. Why your mother's photo is here. Because, Kira, she wasn't just someone I loved. Lightning flashed outside, casting his shadow long across the wall. She was family. The word family echoed in Kira's ears, bouncing between disbelief and confusion. She stared at the man, her pulse thudding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Family, she repeated, her voice faint. What do you mean by that? The older man, his name, she'd later learn, was Graham Layton, didn't look away. It means what you think it means, he said quietly. Your mother and I, we had a daughter. You. Kira stumbled back, the air seeming to vanish from the room. No, she whispered. That's not possible. My mother would have told me, she would have told me. Graham's voice was soft but steady. She didn't because she wanted you to grow up free of the Layton name. My world, this world, would have destroyed both of you. She wanted you safe. Kira shook her head. Safe. She worked double shifts, barely paid the bills, skipped meals so I could eat. You call that safe? While you lived in this? She gestured around the lavish mansion, the firelight glinting off gold frames and crystal glass. Logan looked from his father to Kira, his expression tightening as the pieces began to fit. You're saying, she's my sister. Graham nodded silently. Logan's face went pale. He turned to Kira, stunned. This can't be real. Kira's chest heaved, anger and grief colliding. If this is true, she said, her voice shaking, then where were you all my life? When Mom got sick, when she cried at night thinking no one cared, where were you? Graham's face tightened, his voice trembling. Your mother made me promise. She left this place without a word, took nothing from me. She said if I ever truly loved her, I'd let her go. She wanted you to grow up without my mistakes staining your life. She called that love. Kira's tone was bitter. She called hiding the truth love. He nodded painfully. Yes. Because she knew my world was ruthless. My business, my family, even my wife's relatives would have destroyed her reputation and yours if they knew. The fire cracked behind them. The storm outside grew louder, wind howling through the shutters. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Logan stepped forward, his voice soft but uncertain. "If she's really my sister, Dad, then why didn't you ever tell me? I grew up seeing that photo in your study. I asked you once who she was, and you said she was a friend who mattered once." Graham's shoulders sagged. "Because that's all I was allowed to say. I made a promise to her that I'd protect her story until her daughter came to find it herself. And now, here you are." Kira looked down at the envelope in her hand, her fingers trembling. The paper was old, the edges yellowed, her mother's handwriting fading but familiar. "Go on," Graham said softly. "Open it." Kira hesitated, then carefully broke the seal. Inside was a folded letter. Her throat tightened as she unfolded it, the words blurring through her tears. "My dearest Kira. If you're reading this, it means you found him. Please don't hate him. He wasn't allowed to love me the way he wanted to. I told him to let me go so I could raise you without the shadow of his name. I never wanted you to grow up feeling unwanted or hidden. You are the light that came from something the world wasn't ready to understand. If he's kept this letter, it's because part of him still loves you. Forgive him if you can. Forgive me, too, for all the silence. I did what I thought was right. Always remember, you were born from love, not shame. Mom." Kira's hands trembled as she lowered the letter. Her voice broke. She forgave you." Graham's eyes were wet, his voice heavy with emotion. "I never stopped loving her. Or you. I've watched from a distance all these years, through a friend at the hospital, through the small donations I made in secret. You were the one thing I wanted to protect but couldn't claim." Kira's tears spilled freely now. "You could have tried," she whispered. "Even once." "I wanted to," he said. "But every time I tried, your mother would send the letters back unopened. She didn't want my world to touch yours." Logan stood in silence, the storm outside echoing the turmoil inside the room. Finally, he took a slow breath and turned to Kira. "Then maybe it's time we fix what our parents couldn't." Kira looked up, startled. Logan's expression softened. "Your family, whether we grew up together or not. You deserve to know where you come from. You deserve more than secrets." Graham nodded slowly. "He's right. I can't undo the years I lost. But I can start now, if you'll let me." Kira swallowed hard, her heart torn between anger and aching relief. She looked around the mansion again, the marble floors, the portraits, the quiet wealth that had once seemed untouchable. And then she looked at Graham, an aging man who had everything but looked like he'd spent his life haunted by one choice. For the first time, she didn't see a billionaire. She saw a man who had loved and lost. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet," she said quietly. "But I want to understand. For her." Graham's voice broke. "That's all I ask." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, opening it slowly. Inside was a delicate silver locket. "This belonged to your mother," he said. "She left it here the day she walked away. I've kept it ever since." Kira reached out, her fingers brushing the locket's cool surface. Inside was a tiny photo, her mother on one side, and a baby she'd never seen before on the other. Herself. A sob escaped her throat. "She left this behind?" Graham nodded. "She said it would bring you home one day." Tears blurred Kira's vision as she clutched the locket. The storm outside began to fade, the rain softening into silence. After a long pause, she whispered, "Maybe it finally did." Graham stepped closer, his voice trembling. "You're home now, Kira." She looked up at him, at the man who had been both her mother's heartbreak and her own unanswered question, and managed a small, shaky smile. "No," she said softly, closing her fingers around the locket. "I'm just, finally not lost anymore." The fire crackled softly behind them, its glow warm against the shadows. For the first time in decades, Briarwood Mansion didn't feel like a house filled with ghosts. It felt like a place where something broken had quietly begun to heal.